Okay, so today I'm going to demonstrate how I do an RJ-45 termination. I've labeled this video not as a how-to, which I think implies, this is how you do it, but rather a video that says how shows how I do it, because while there are some wrong and some rights when it comes to terminating RJ-45s, some of this is kind of like an art form. So you can't really tell somebody how to do it unless they do it themselves and practice how to do it, okay? So let's start off by scoring the jacket, okay? This is called the coaxial stripper. I bought this years ago, and it's the only tool I use to strip jackets from any category in cabling. I've seen guys use these, which I never use. I have these, I bought these years ago. I never use them. I've seen guys use their pocket knives. I've seen guys use a myriad of different ways. Most of it is not appropriate, and I'll explain why. This is one of the wires in the pairs. It's only 23 AWG. Let me zoom in real quick here. You can see how thin that wire is. So any little nick in that wire can compromise data integrity going through the wire. So it is important that you properly strip the jacket on the cable. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let me zoom back out. All right, so let's go ahead now. You don't need to run this around 4, 5, 6 times like I've seen people do. If the blade is set properly, then it should be one time around. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now I've preset this blade. Typically, what I usually do, actually kind of backtracking a little bit here, is I'll take a scrap piece of the same cabling, or if I have a lot of extra wire, I'll just kind of practice on a few until I get that score perfect. Okay, so I only went one time around. So let's zoom in and take a look. Okay, now you can see that score has not penetrated the jacket whatsoever. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to do this while I'm got the camera on it. Let's go ahead and, okay, there's one. Okay, now watch the split. There it is. Okay, there's my split. Okay, so I was able to do that by just doing a very light score. I probably could have set the blade slightly, a fraction of nothing on that tool. It's very sensitive, actually, that blade adjustment. So that I could have gone a tiny bit deeper, so I didn't have to bend the wire so much. But when you're doing a lot of these, you make minute adjustments of this tool as you go along. So that score was a little light. I can go a tiny bit heavier on that score. Okay, all right, let's pull back the rip cord. This is called a rip cord. It's not called a drain wire. It's not called a string, a Kevlar string. This is called a rip cord, and the idea is you pull this down and it rips down the jacket and splits the jacket so you can strip the jacket. I never use this. And on this make of Cat 6 cable, this happens to be not a good rip cord. It's very stringy. It's a Triplite brand. Some of them are a lot better. They're not. They're better than this rip cord. So the very stringy rip cord I don't like on these. Anyways, I don't use it. So let me see if I can zoom back out here. Okay, let's go ahead and pull the pairs back. This is typically what I do. Pull the pairs back, right? Like this. Okay. Get them out of the way so I can cut the separator. Not the spline, not the other stuff I've heard it called. I call this, and I believe that the correct terminology of this is called a separator. Okay. So let me just kind of zoom in here real quick. Now it's going to be tough to try to do this on camera, but let's see if I can do this on camera. Okay, the point is here is that we're going to come in at an angle like this so we can get down inside and get as much of that separator out without nicking any of the conductors, carefully nicking any of the conductors. Okay, so I'm going to cut once. I'm going to cut twice. I'm going to cut at an angle 3 times. Typically you can do 3, but for this case I'll do all 4 sides of the separator. Okay, there's 4 cuts. Now this should just twist off. There you go. Okay, I just twisted it off. Not as clean as sometimes I can get it. Sometimes I can get it, it makes a super clean cut. I'm trying to do this on the camera now, which is kind of hard. So anyways, that's the idea. I've seen guys come along with scissors and cut it off, and or this tool and cut it off and all this kind of stuff. Use your flesh cut pliers and get down in there and cut that back as much as possible. You want that separator out as much as possible. Okay, let's zoom back out again here. Now let's go ahead and untwist the pairs. I've seen, people use an extra piece of a jacket to stick in there to unroll the pairs. I've unnecessarily, I've cut the pairs back a little bit more than I usually can so I can see what I'm doing here because I have the camera going. I usually don't make it this long, but I typically do make it fairly long because it makes it easier to work with the wires. Okay. All right, so I got my pairs separated, right? Okay, so I'm going to come along now and I'm going to use, what I like to use is my Milwaukee screwdriver, right? And it's got flat sides on it. I actually like to use one of the edges and just come along here and straighten it out like that. Now you can use your finger, you can use, anything that's not going to scratch the insulation on the conductor. But I really find that this Milwaukee screwdriver really makes it easier. Okay, so I'm just going to run it along a couple times, straighten out the wires. Here, moving along. Again, sorry, it's a little bit difficult trying to look at this and look at the camera at the same time. Right, okay. That should be good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start moving. I like to move left to right, okay? So you can see we're going to do B on this one, right? So orange stripe, orange, okay? Green stripe, blue, blue stripe, orange, sorry, blue stripe, orange, blue stripe, green, brown stripe, brown, excuse me. Okay, I'm gonna turn them around together, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of massage them, right? I'm gonna massage these to straighten them out and to orient them. The goal is to make this as flat as possible, okay? We want this flat, right? Okay, so I've got my conductors. Let's check our orientation again. Orange stripe, orange, green stripe, blue, blue stripe, green, brown stripe, brown, right? You can always double check that with, I already memorized the colors, but they give you, a handy readout there. So orange stripe, orange, green stripe, blue, blue stripe, green, brown stripe, brown, right? I like to say the color and then the stripe. That makes it the easiest to say it for me. I've heard people say other different ways, but for me, I like saying it like that. So again, you're just saying green stripe, green stripe or orange stripe, orange, green stripe, blue, like that kind of, that sort of way of saying it. So I'm just going to take my dikes and cut the excess off here. Now, another reason why I like to make them longer than necessary is, you see that? I can hold these and cut it at the same time, right? See that? A lot of people do is they'll cut them shorter and then they'll come in with their flesh cut pliers like this and go snap like that, and then all these little pieces go flying, right? And these are terrible for electronics. If this gets anything into like a network video recorder, an amplifier or something like that, you can smoke the electronics. And it makes a huge mess. So I try not to cut these short with the flesh cut pliers so things go flying, okay? So now I'm going to use a loading bar setup. Okay, this is actually a true cable connector. Let me just zoom in here actually. All right, this is a true cable. This is a staggered Cat 6 cable with a loading bar, okay? And again, I'm trying to work around the camera here, so just excuse me. Okay, let me just check in. Orange stripe, orange, green stripe, blue, blue stripe, green, brown stripe, brown. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and stick this. Now the loading bar has a little flange on top, okay, a little bump that needs to be orientated up. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and just kind of get these in there. Okay, sorry. Again, working with the camera my way here. Okay, so I got the loading bar on. Now, we'll double check we'll make sure we got our pairs correctly here. Orange stripe orange, green stripe blue, blue stripe green, brown stripe brown. Okay, so we've got the pairs in the correct orientation. Now, the thing is that you don't want this loading bar all the way up against the jacket. So when you push it in to the RJ-45, you want to make sure that this jacket's not all the way up against there. You want, say, 1/8 of an inch, typically just how like it is like that when you push it in. So I'll show you the trick how I found that I like to keep that there. So now this is why I like to keep my wires long if possible, right? So now I'm going to come here. I can hold these and then just cut, right? And then I don't have these flying all over the place, right? Okay. So you can see we got a nice, see if I can zoom in on that's not catching it. Okay. Fairly nice cut there. These will level out a little bit, but that's a good cut. Okay. Now we're going to stick this in. Only one way it's going to go on the RJ-45, the tab on the bottom and the little lip on the loading bar. Okay. Now we're going to stick it in there. All right. Now in order for the jacket to not be too ride up against the loading bar, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of slightly twist this a little bit so it twists the wires so it won't allow the loading bar to go back to the jacket, right? Then I'm going to take my, if I can zoom out here, now I'm going to take my crimpers and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to twist a little bit, right, so that loading bar doesn't ride up. I'm going to make sure this is pushed all the way forward, and then I'm going to crimp. I like to give it one extra little crimp to make sure we're good. Now let's see if I can really zoom in here. Okay, now you can see that jacket, you see that 1/8 of an inch gap right there. Okay, that's exactly what we want. Okay, you're not supposed to have any more than 1/2 inch of untwist of wires between in the determination, no more than 1/2 inch of untwist for the whole termination, and that's pretty much on par right there. We have very little untwist between the for the termination. So I wish I could have spent more time on this talking about a lot of other detail stuff, but the video's already 13 minutes long, so there's a lot more stuff I could talk about, but I just wanted to give you show you quick how I do my terminations for RJ-45s. Thanks for watching the video, and please like and subscribe.